Okay, good morning and welcome to Just Daf It. Daf Yomi Share. We're learning Kesubos number 80, Daf Pei. A great share for you today. A little dark in the room over here. Electricity just shut off for no reason. I don't know why electricity shut off. Besides the fact that it's dark, the fan also shut off, so I'm going to be a little hot this year. Let's get started at the bottom. I intend to base the Mishnah. Right? The Baal, right? The point of her having real estate or nichse malog is that it should appreciate in value. The husband's going to be in charge. He's going to be in charge of helping it appreciate, developing the land, or selling it and flipping the property. He spends money on it to improve the land. He spent a lot of money to improve the land, and he ended up only eating a little fruit from it, not so much. Kima, or he ate a little, or he spent a little money, and he was very prosperous and produced many fruits. He ate a lot. As the marriage dissolves, he divorces her, or he dies. Whatever happened, happened. Right? However, in one case it's different. If he spent money and he didn't consume anything from the field, he takes a shvua how much money he spent, and he's able to retrieve the money he spent because he didn't benefit at all from the payrolls. Chazal or Mesach will talk today about Iyun ben Sion, about payrolls being the Raisa or the Rabbanan. Sounds like from the Gemara it's the Rabbanan. I have to explain according to what I said yesterday in the previous share, and that I intended it's the Raisa. So the Kama Kimra, the Gemara says, how much is a little bit? How much does he have to eat to be considered that he benefited from the field? Amr Biasi afilu grogeres achas, even one fig. He has to eat it in an honorable fashion. He has to eat it at a table and not just while he's in the field picking from the field. That's all the benefit from the field. Amr Rabbi Abba, top of Pamid Aleph, Amri Beirav, afilu shigra d'tmari. Even if he ate a cake of pressed figs, right, which is pressed figs, it's not even, the figs don't have so much juice in them, that's good enough to be considered eating. Bayrav Bibi chufsa d'tmari. Let's say he completely dried out the figs and he made them into some sort of cake. I guess pressed figs would have a little bit of juice, not so much. He completely took out all the juices and pressed it together. My teku, is that considered honorable or not? The Gemara says teku, we're not sure. Lo achal derech kavod mai. If he didn't eat it honorable fashion, he was just snacking from the field. There has to be some limit. If he's eating a lot of fruits, right? It has to be called that he ate from the field. My Amarula pli b'Shem Marai Marava in Eretz Yisrael. Presumably Eretz Yisrael. Two Amoraim argue about this. Chadamar b'ki isar. One says he ate the value of an isar. I guess in 10 agurot here in Israel, or a penny. V'chadamar kedinar, about a dinar, a dollar. Amri Dani Mudisa Avad Yehuda Ovda b'chavile zmuros. Rav Yehuda himself, even if he didn't consume at all personally from the field, he just gave his animals to eat from the branches of the vines. He gave vine branches to his animals. That's considered that he benefited from the field, and he can no longer take, when he leaves the marriage, nishba and take a shvua and retrieve how much he spent. Rav Yehuda Tamei, Rav Yehuda is according to his own reasoning. Now, Rav Yehuda achla arla shiv kilayim reiza chazaka. We'll learn in Maseches Bava Basra that technically, even if you don't have a star for a field, if you've been squatting on someone's field for 3 years and no one pushed you away, and you say that I bought the field and you can't produce a star, we believe you as long as you've been there for 3 years and you use the land or you work the land. So Rav Yehuda says during Orla, Shviyas, and Kilayim, Orla you can't eat the fruits, Shviyas you're not supposed to eat the fruits, and Kilayim are also aser. Nonetheless, the fact that you fed these things, they're mutter bahana, these things, at least in certain instances, they're mutter bahana. So therefore, if you feed it to your animals, I guess it wasn't a real hanna. You fed it to animals that you weren't mechuyev to feed them. That's considered working the land and establishes a chazaka. Same thing over here, that you benefited from feeding to your animals, that's good enough in order to be considered that you consumed from the field, you ate the payros. Someone who spends money on his wife's property, katana, right? He got married to a woman who's younger than 13 years old, 12 years old. It's not the same halachas as the Mishnah. It's like he spent money on somebody else's field, right? If you go into someone else's field, we'll learn, and you plant someone else's field, you're entitled to the value of a sharecropper. A sharecropper is someone he works the land for you as a servant for you, as a slave for you, and he is entitled to a portion of whatever the land produces. So therefore, he also is, even if he doesn't eat anything, he's still entitled to a certain amount of money. Even if he eats something, even if he consumes from the field, he's still entitled to money. My time. If the Rabbanan didn't give the man the ability to take, even if he eats in this case, because he's not going to care about the field, because there's always a possibility of miyah, and she might refuse the marriage, and she could refuse the marriage at any time, and therefore he's not going to invest in the field unless he knows that even if I eat some payros from the field, I still get reimbursed like an aris, like a sharecropper. Whereas he is still a certain woman, she got a Yerusha, $400, let's say, in Bechozai, a faraway place. He spent $600 on the plane ticket to go to Bechozai, and he brought back the $400. Out of the $400 he retrieved, he needed to use one for expenses during his journey. He used it. He came in front of Riyami. It's considered they derive benefit from her property, and therefore, even though the marriage is dissolved, right, he's no longer entitled to take out how much he spent on her, the $600 for his plane ticket. And when they heard this, said to Riyami, Hani Mili, our mission is only talking about Pira, Hakarna, when he eats the fruits. Here he's eating the principal over here. The money wasn't yet exchanged for land, and the fruits, the principal. And he just spent money of hers. He has to reimburse for that zuz, that dollar, but besides that, he didn't eat payros. Upon hearing this, Rabbi Ami said, okay, it's analogous in our mission to someone who spent money and didn't partake of the payros. So he gets to take a shvua how much he spent, and he gets to be paid back, compensated. The only time he's allowed to take a shvua and retrieve how much money he spent is as long as he improved the land, the amount of the hotel. So he spent $500, he has to produce with that $500 spent an appreciation of the land, $500. What exactly is the ramifications of Allah? He thought that the pshat was that if he improved the land more, he improved it $600 worth, he only spent $500, so he can take the entire money without a shvua. If we allow this, people don't want to take a shvua. He'll state a higher price. He said, "I'll say that I spent. I spent a little bit." He'll underestimate how much he spent. So therefore, whatever the improvement in the land will always be more than the hotzah. He'll take without a shvua. He'll lie. If this spending was more than the improvement, he can't get entirely paid back. He only get paid back what he improved the land. But yeah, he still has to take a shvua. A man, a husband, he didn't want to improve his wife's field, so he hired sharecroppers to work the field and get a portion. What happens, right, in that case where he ate from the field, right, and the marriage dissolves? So I did the bal nachis. So they're coming on account of the husband. So the husband, right, once he started eating from the field, even if he spent a lot of money, he loses out once the marriage is dissolved. They came on his account. They get nothing. Maybe the sharecroppers are coming just to improve the land. Right? The land needs to be worked by somebody. So they should get at least the portion of aris, even if they ate from the field. What's the difference? The halacha says, and thank God for the fan and the light got back miraculously. The Mishnah in Bava Metzia says someone who goes into his friend's field, he doesn't have his own field, he wants to plant something, he wants to plant cucumbers. He doesn't ask permission, he plants a cucumber seeds over there. He's entitled to what he got partially, so but his hand is at a disadvantage, right? The Mishnah explains there. Let's say he spent $30 and the cucumbers are worth $20. So he only gets the value of $20. Let's say he spent $10 and it's worth $20. Either way, he gets the worst of the deal. He only gets paid back $10. He gets yado tachtona. So here also, the arisin at least should get what they yado tachtona should get something. Whereas hasam lega inish Torah. When you go into someone else's field, he doesn't plan on working his field. Haka ika baal the Torah. Here you have the husband who's in charge of his wife's field. He's supposed to be in charge of it. My havi Allah. What's Allah? You have to baal someone who's a sharecropper. He knows how to work the land. He's stalically baal. He's stalical to who? So they're like the sharecroppers are working on account of the husband, so they get nothing. He Baal lav artist, so if the Baal is not fit to, he doesn't know how to farm, doesn't know how to work the land. Ara larisi kaima, the land of the woman, right, is supposed to be working by arisim, and therefore the arisim, the sharecroppers, will at least get what a sharecropper would normally get. Ibailu Baal shemachar karka leperos mahu. Right, we learned that the husband is entitled to peros. I said in an Ian share yesterday, not yesterday, today, but yesterday's Ian share, Daf It Tet, that the payros are d'oraisa. So could he sell them? Right? Sounds like he owns it d'oraisa, so he could sell it. Or maybe it's d'rabban. They don't know sake and payros for the husband. Mishum, top of Peyamid Beis, Ravach Beisa. Right? They wanted him to have payros because if he gets the appreciation of the land, right? So he's gonna invest in the land. He's gonna work the land hard. He's gonna try to improve it. And there'll be more money for him and his wife. Aval zbune lo. They didn't give the right to sell it. Yehuda bar Marei mar mishmei Rav Amar Masha Asa Asoi. Technically, it's valid. His sale. Rav Papa, he can sell his payrosh. Rav Papa Amar Mishmei Rav Lo Asa Lo Klum. You can't do it. I'm Rav Papa. Rav Papa said, "How do Yehuda bar Marei mar?" Their first opinion that he could do it. La beferish et mar. He didn't state it explicitly. Ela mikol et mar. He inferred it from somewhere else, from a story. He is said that Aila legabra tarte amasa. A woman brought into her marriage 2 maidservants. Azal Gavra and Asaf in Sachrisa. Bigamy was allowed, polygamy was allowed. He married a different wife. Ayala Chadami Nayu. So she didn't bring any maidservants in. So he gave the second wife one of the maidservants to help her. Asa the committee the Rava. The first wife came in front of Rava. Safchalo Ashkach. He was screaming, "How could you give away my maidservant to another wife?" He didn't lo Ashkach ba. Rava didn't pay attention to him. Right. Yehuda Ramer thought the reason was that she had no claim, is because the maidservant, or her work, or handiwork, or might say a dime, is like payros, and you can sell the payros to someone else. You can give it to a different wife. Really, technically, you have no rights to do it. Over here, you do have the rights to give the payros, because having a second wife, having a maidservant, is going to help your house be more profitable. Each wife will have someone to help them. So it's beneficial even for the first wife. Technically, it doesn't work. My time, and what's the reason? If you sell the payros in the field to somebody else, so the person is entitled to the payros, right? The way he gets the payros is he works the field, but he realizes that if the marriage dissolves, that he's going to lose his payros. So he doesn't invest in the land. The land's going to go bad. It's going to, right? The husband, right? He might actually get the land one day, so he's going to invest in the land. The land will get ruined. Rav Amar Mishum Ravach Beisa. The reason they're masakin payros to him is that the house should be prosperous, it should make profits. So therefore, if you sell it to somebody else, right, he's not going to have what to make profits with. My benayu, what's practical? If the land is close to the city, so therefore most people won't let it deteriorate. Inami Baal Arisu. Alternatively, the husband is an Aris. He himself is a sharecropper. He knows how to work the land. So then we're concerned that if he sells it to somebody else, right, it might go bad. Right, because he himself could work it. But if he's not an artist, so then maybe we shouldn't be concerned for Abayas Kshash, because the husband himself wouldn't work it. Inami Zuzi Vikavi Buhuiska. Alternatively, we're talking about where the payros is money, right? He's selling the money, and he's doing iska. He's involved in the stock market, let's say. He's putting into a business, entrepreneurship, or a business. So therefore, according to Rava's reasoning, right, Ravach Beisa. So he's getting the money, whatever he's selling the payers for is money, and he's going to use the money to invest in the stock market. So he's still going to be prosperous according to Rava. So he could do it. According to the Abai, he couldn't do it because the field will go bad, and when it returns to her after the marriage dissolves, she'll have a bad field. The Mishnah says, "Shomeres Yavam shenafalu anachasim." We talked in the beginning Mishnah, the first Mishnah of the parrot, that a woman is arusa or nesua, she inherits land. Let's say she was married to a man, and the husband died, and she's waiting for the Yavam either to do Yivam or Chalitza. At that point, she inherited land. Everyone agrees, even the Charchila, she could sell it. She's not nickness, she has a Zika, but she's not really nickness to the new husband. Mesa, let's say she dies while she's still Shomeres Yavam. Who gets her Ksuva? Now Rashi says, Nechasim Yotzin Ima is Nechse Molug. Right? They go in with her, they go out with her. She owns the Gufa Karka, I really believe Nechasim and Nechnasim Yosim Tom and Nechnasim Barzel. We'll talk about this some other time. Why I believe it's Nechnasim Barzel, because they go in and out with her because he guarantees he's going to pay it back. Either with money he's going to pay back 50% more, or metalton he's going to pay 4/5 of the value. She's going to automatically get it back. The goof, the karka Nechnasim Malug, she's not necessarily going to get it back because, right, each took a gufo. Really, I'm going to explain that the Baal actually, they're shutfim. The Isha and the Baal, he actually owns half of the karka. That's really why she can't sell it as in a suwa. That's the explanation of the Mishnah. He's a shutaf with her in the gufa karka. He's entitled to the payros midaraisa, and the gufa karka he owns halfly when they're married. So therefore, and the reason they needed takanas usha is because technically Amotzi Mechara, once she sold it, and she gave the deed to him, so Amotzi Mechara Raya, in order for him to be Motzi from him, he has to prove it. So that's why they made it like Takana Susha. The purpose was that he owns it completely and she can't sell it at all. That's the explanation. I'm giving you basically an Ian Shiar. I'll talk about a little later on in the Masechta. What do you do in a chasim with these nechal? Who gets them? Beishamai Omrim Yichaloku, Yorshei Baal, Yorshei Av, right? She has inheritors, who presumably inherits a woman if she dies. Her father inherits her. She doesn't have a father, other relatives inherit her. And Yorshei Baal, the husbands, right? Or the Yavam, right? His family inherits half. Beisil Omrim Nechasim B'chas Kasan. You divide it up based on whose ownership the Nechasim are under. Ksuba B'cheskas Yorshei Baal, Nechasim Las Yozim B'cheskas Yorshei Av, right? The Ksuva, I explained to be Nichse Muluk. Ksuva is just, Ksuva exists even with Mido Raisa without a document or a document, right? The Manu Masayim is basically the rights you have to the woman to be boel her. That exists Mido Raisa, I've explained many times. Maisei Adayim, Peiros, Ksuva, Nichse Muluk belong partially to the husband. I explained in the Shutaf partially. Ksuva is something which is a Dindal Raisa. I explained that there are abundant added onto it, different guarantees in the ksuva, but principally it's del raisa. Nixay Son Barzel is basically, she's not giving it to him, she's just saying you could use it. Technically, I'm holding on to it, you could use it and pay me back when the marriage dissolves. So, the ksuva, including the Nixay Maluk, belong to the husband. Nechnasim Barzel, that belonged to the father, which is guaranteed to get that money back. Mos, if his brother left over money, and the Yavam actually was machnas, or he did yibum with the shemer itself. It's a regular marriage, right? So therefore, it's Nechnasim Maluk. You have to. That's part because he partially owns the goof. That's why he's able to force her to buy land and get the payros, that he can get appreciation in the land. Let's say there's fruits. It has a field that has fruits that are attached to the ground. Sorry, let's go back for a second. If they're already at the onset of Yibum, after there's Yibum, they're tlushim, he finds that they're detached from the ground. So that's like money, right? But it's like money, it has value. So you buy karka, it's not going to make its own payros. Fruits don't produce other fruits. If the field came with fruits that were attached to the ground, Amar Meir, Shaman, Osan Kama, and Yafin, and Peiros, Kama, and Yafin below price. You value the land, how much is worth with Peiros, without Peiros. And most of the difference between that's worth money, Lakman and Karkabal Peiros, you spend it on real estate, so it appreciates. So come Peiros and Gorma Karka Shalo. Come argue like in our Mish, and they say it's attached to the ground, that's just the din of Peiros, that's regular Peiros, and they belong to him. Atlushim and Akarka. Come also argue in this case by Tlushin, if they're detached from the ground, call it Kodem Zachaban. In this case, by Yibum, whoever comes first, whoever picks them up first is Zocha. Kadam hu, if the man picked them up first, Zacha, he owns the entire fruit. Kadmahi, Yilachan and Karchavoch Peros, then it goes into the regular din of Nichsem Ulug. You have to buy real estate, you can force her to buy real estate, and he gets the Peros Kansa. When he does Yibum, Harek Isha Chaldavar, it's like his wife for everything. We're explaining what it means the Chaldavar. Bilvachek Suvasa Nichse by Larishon. He's not responsible to pay the Ksufa. His brother's estate, right, who originally married her, that's responsible to ksuva. He can't say, I'm designating you $200 and he's putting it in the drawer for your ksuva. So the entire estate of his brother is responsible for the ksuba, meaning to get the $200. Therefore, even if you get rid of the $200 that he suggested he's going to give to her, he still has to pay from the other assets that the brother had. Even a regular marriage, they made you can't set it aside. The brother Masakin that all of the nechas of a person are meshubah for the ksuva girsha. He divorces her, he divorces her, she only has a ksuva, right? She gets the $200. At that time, he gives her whatever he wants. Zira, he divorces her and then he remarries her. According to the article, this means that he divorced her without getting her ksuva, then he remarried her. So then when the marriage just ends the second time, he only gets one ksuva, she doesn't get two ksuvas. She didn't. The yibum didn't happen. The chalitza didn't happen. She's waiting for the yibum, and she dies. Who is responsible to bury her? Right? Normally, a husband is responsible to bury his wife. Yorshia bal kavrila, the yorshim of the husband, the first brother, bury her. The kayarsi ksuva, they inherit the ksuva, whatever is part of the ksuva. Next time, malug, the manum asayim. Well, dilma yorshia av kavrila, maybe the woman's father, his yorshim, yorshia av, right? Her father inherited her, or the people that would inherit her father. The kayarsi and chasan chatzmilasim, they're yoresh the nechseson barjal. Amar Rabba Amram Tashma Latanya Shemeres Yavam Shemesa. If she dies, the Brisa says Yorsheh Ksuvasa Chayam Mikurasa. Exactly how the Gemara said in Daf Mem Zayin, the Ksuva, right? The Ksuva, which I explained here in Nichsei Malug. So the Nichsei Malug belongs to the husband. They are the ones, the husband and his family, are responsible to bury her, not her father, not her inheritors. That's the conclusion of today's shir. Stay tuned for Iyun with Ben Sion, where we're going to explain, even though I said payros is a midoraisa, it seems from the Gemara that he can't sell the payros, right? If he owns a midoraisa, why can't he sell the payros? I'll explain that, answer that question, Iyun with Ben Sion, coming up next.